They say when you're in real danger, your instincts kick in. For Maya Thompson, they did, over and over again. She called for help not once, not twice, but 50 times in under an hour. Each call was a plea, a signal, a desperate attempt to be heard. She wasn't on some remote road. She wasn't backpacking alone through a foreign country. She was in Brooksville, a quiet suburb, full of manicured lawns and sleepy streets. She had just come from a party. People were around. Music was playing. Laughter echoed in the background. But by morning, that laughter faded. So did Maya. What happened between 12:15 a.m. and 1:30 a.m. is a stretch of time filled with silence, unanswered phones, and a trail of worry no one acted on, until it was too late. A 19-year-old girl full of plans, and majoring in journalism, Maya Thompson had a knack for noticing details others missed. That night, though, it wasn't a story she was chasing, it was safety. The house party was supposed to be a break from routine. A little music. Some dancing. Familiar faces. But something shifted around midnight. The kind of shift you don't notice until you're looking back, trying to understand what changed and when. Maya stepped outside. She stared down the street more than once. Her thumb hovered over her phone. 50 outgoing calls, some lasting seconds, others ringing endlessly. Her voice, in the few that connected, trembled. She said someone was following her. That she didn't feel right. She wasn't hysterical. She wasn't vague. She was clear. Terrified, but clear. And still, nobody came up. By 1:10 a.m., a camera from a porch across Maple Street caught her hurrying past, alone, glancing over her shoulder, clutching her phone. That was the last time anyone saw Maya Thompson alive. Her body was never recovered. Only her torn backpack, her phone, and a journal turned up months later in the woods. Evidence pointed to a man with a history, but no confession ever followed. No closure came. Every year since, her family holds a vigil. Every August, Brooksville remembers the girl who begged for help, who wasn't far from safety, but was far enough. This isn't just a story. It's a warning. And it all began on a humid night, with music in the air, and a girl who knew something was wrong. If you found this story gripping, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to like and share so others can experience the suspense too. You won't want to miss what's coming next. It started off like any typical college gathering, loud music, cheap drinks, and the buzzing excitement of a summer night slipping into memory. The house on Redwood Lane wasn't anything special, just another suburban home with a backyard, a string of mismatched patio lights, and a living room converted into a makeshift dance floor. But on August 15, 2015, it became the epicenter of something no one could forget. Maya Thompson arrived just after 9:30 p.m. She stepped out of Lena Rodriguez's car wearing high-top sneakers, denim shorts, and a burgundy crop top that said power. She smiled at the sound of familiar voices calling her name from the porch. Her hair was braided back, her phone in hand, ready to document everything. Inside, the music thumped from a Bluetooth speaker someone had hooked up in the corner. The floor vibrated lightly with the bass, and the scent of spiked fruit punch, cologne, and sweat hung thick in the air. Maya blended in effortlessly. She laughed loud. She danced hard. She recorded clips of her friends posing and playing drinking games, throwing her signature peace sign into the frame. Lena, her best friend since high school, later said that Maya was completely herself that night. Not shy, not cautious, just Maya. She was lighting up every room, she told investigators later, like she always did. But even in the blur of red Solo cups and tangled conversations, time doesn't stop moving. Around 11:45 p.m., something changed. It wasn't obvious, not at first. Maya wasn't screaming, crying, or panicking. But Lena noticed it. A hesitation. A sliver of unease. Maya stopped dancing. She slipped her phone out again, not to film, but to text. She looked out the window more than once. She left the living room and walked toward the front door, where she lingered. Lena followed. "You good?" she asked. Maya looked at her, forced a half-smile, and nodded. "Yeah, just trying to get a ride," she said. "Thought we were leaving together," Lena reminded her. Maya shrugged. "I might head out earlier. Got class stuff to prep tomorrow." But Maya didn't sound like she cared about class. Her tone was rushed, distant. Her eyes weren't focused. And when she stepped outside into the humid night, she walked to the end of the driveway and stood near the mailbox, staring down the road. She made her first call at 12:16 a.m. It was to her brother, Devin. He didn't answer. She called again. And again. 12 minutes later, she dialed 10 different numbers. Devin. Her ex-boyfriend Trey. Her classmate Amari. Even her old roommate from freshman orientation. Some rang. Some went straight to voicemail. One picked up, Amari, but only for a few seconds. She said something about someone watching her, he would tell reporters. I thought she was just buzzed and paranoid. But Maya wasn't drunk. Not even tipsy. Lena confirmed she'd barely touched her drink. Back inside the house, the party kept pulsing. People moved around her, oblivious. No one questioned why Maya stepped in and out of the front door a dozen times, phone pressed to her ear, pacing the same 10 feet. At 12:45 a.m., Derek Simmons, one of the upperclassmen, noticed Maya arguing with someone outside near the hedge that bordered the driveway. He couldn't hear the conversation over the music, but he remembered one thing clearly, Maya's face. Tense. Like she was trying not to cry. The man she was talking to was unfamiliar. Tall. Hooded. Standing too close. By 1 a.m., Maya had made nearly 50 outgoing calls. Lena, still inside, assumed Maya had found a ride and left. She looked around once. Didn't see her. Shrugged it off. She wouldn't find out until the next morning that Maya never made it home. Some say she should have stayed inside the house. Others say someone should have gone after her. But nobody did. And by the time anyone realized something was wrong, the girl who'd been dancing in the living room just 2 hours earlier was gone, leaving only missed calls, silent voicemails, and a growing sense of regret. The official missing persons report wasn't filed until 9:12 a.m. on Sunday, August 16th. But Maya Thompson had been missing for nearly 8 hours by then. Her mother, Camille, was the first to sound the alarm. She'd waited up, as she always did when Maya was out late. The family rule was simple, if Maya was staying over somewhere, she had to text. Just one word, safe. That text never came. By 3 a.m., Camille was pacing the living room, glancing out the window every 5 minutes. At 4 a.m., she called Maya's phone again and again. Straight to voicemail. Camille's hands trembled with every redial. By sunrise, her mother had already driven past the house on Redwood Lane, her eyes scanning the sidewalks, ditches, and driveways with a mother's instinctive dread. No sign of her daughter. Not her sneakers. Not her phone. Not her. The partygoers woke up groggy and scattered, and none of them noticed that something was wrong, until Camille showed up on the doorstep. "Where's Maya?" she asked Lena, her voice cracking. Lena blinked, confused. "She left. I thought she got picked up." That's when the silence started spreading. The kind of silence that fills a space when you realize something irreversible has happened and no one knows when it began. By 10 a.m., campus police were involved. At first, they suggested maybe Maya had just gone somewhere to cool off. College students disappear for a night all the time, they said. Give it a few hours. But Camille knew her daughter. Maya didn't run off. She didn't go silent. She didn't leave without telling someone, anyone, where she was going. Her call logs told a more urgent story. From 12:16 a.m. to 12:57 a.m., Maya had made 56 calls and 11 texts. Most were unanswered. The content of her texts was chilling in hindsight. Are you up? Someone's outside. I don't like this. He's here again. Help. She sent the word, help, to her brother at exactly 12:43 a.m. It was the last text she would ever send. Security footage from a house across the street, obtained later by detectives, showed Maya standing near the hedge line at 12:44 a.m., pacing. A dark figure emerged from the street, crossing toward her. The camera didn't have audio, but the body language was clear. She backed up. He advanced. At 12:46 a.m., the figure grabbed her arm. Then, the camera blinked out. The homeowner had motion-triggered lights installed, but they never came on. The assumption was that the man approached from the blind spot. At 12:49 a.m., the front door of the party house opened. Lena came out briefly, looked around, and went back inside. She would later say she thought she heard Maya's voice, but it was faint, like it was coming from the other side of the street. By 1 a.m., Maya's phone was turned off or destroyed. Its signal vanished from cell towers. Investigators would later confirm that the last ping from her device came from a wooded area 2.3 miles west of the house. Devon, Maya's older brother, drove straight to the police station the moment he heard. He slammed a printout of her call log onto the desk and demanded immediate action. She doesn't do this. My sister doesn't vanish, he said, fists clenched. The police finally escalated the case to an active investigation by 1:30 p.m. By then, they had reviewed messages, interviewed every partygoer, and canvassed the neighborhood. That's when something chilling came up. A neighbor, elderly and partially blind, mentioned hearing a girl scream once, just once, around 1 a.m. She'd thought it was kids horsing around. But it wasn't. Another resident on Grover Hill Drive, near the woods, reported seeing headlights parked where no car should have been. He remembered it because it was odd, 2 flashes of brights, and then the car vanished down the tree-lined path that led to the old train yard. Search dogs were deployed at 4 p.m. They found nothing. Not at first. But then, near a drainage pipe just off a dirt road, they discovered something small. A pink acrylic nail, cracked and with chipped polish. Maya had just gotten her nails done 3 days before. Her mother still had the receipt. Camille collapsed to her knees when she saw the evidence bag. That's hers, she whispered. That's her. The shift in tone was immediate. This was no longer a missing persons case. It was the beginning of something darker. And the man seen in the footage, hooded, silent, pressing in on Maya in the shadows, was now a suspect. But no one could identify him. None of Maya's friends recognized the silhouette. The only clue? A faded sticker on the back of a silver SUV seen driving away from the neighborhood at 1:05 a.m. A sticker that read, God forgives. I don't. The investigation had officially begun. In the days following Maya Thompson's disappearance, the entire campus of Hawthorne Ridge University transformed from a buzzing social sphere into a shadowed hive of whispers and wide-eyed paranoia. Flyers with Maya's face were plastered across every light post, cafeteria wall, and lecture hall door. The once vibrant atmosphere of late summer freedom was now stifled by a lingering, unspoken question: what happened to her, and who was that man? By the third day, police had conducted dozens of interviews. Yet, every answer felt like a sideways glance, vague, contradictory, uncertain. Some of Maya's friends admitted they'd seen her arguing with someone earlier that night, but no one could agree on what he looked like. He was tall, I think, one said. White hoodie, said another. No, black jacket, a third corrected. The details blurred like a half-remembered nightmare. Then came the first sighting. A freshman named Callie Green approached campus police trembling and pale. Her voice was barely audible. "I saw her. I think. Sunday morning. Around 1:30, in the woods." She was walking home from her boyfriend's dorm when she heard what she described as staggering footsteps. Out of the darkness, she glimpsed a girl stumbling along the edge of the forest trail that cut behind the biology building. She was barefoot, Callie whispered. Her dress was torn. She looked over her shoulder like someone was following her. But when Callie called out, "Hey! Are you okay?" the girl disappeared into the trees. That sighting, however unconfirmed, prompted search crews to focus heavily on the campus perimeter. Dogs, drones, and volunteers combed every inch of the forest. Still, nothing. No clothes. No blood. No phone. No Maya. Then, on the fifth day, a gas station clerk named Raymond Pierce made a call to the tip line that chilled investigators. "She was in my store," he said. "I'm almost sure of it." Raymond worked at a 24-hour station 15 miles from the university. At 2:11 a.m. on Sunday, a girl matching Maya's description stumbled into the store. Her lips were cracked. Her eyes darted around like a cornered animal. She asked to use the restroom and was in there for nearly 15 minutes. Raymond reviewed the surveillance footage with police. The girl's face was never fully visible, her hair covered most of it, but her build, clothes, and height were consistent with Maya's. What sealed the suspicion was what happened next. "She came out and asked if she could borrow a phone," Raymond said. "But before I could hand her mine, a man entered the store. Wearing a black face mask. A fitted, gray jacket. Gloves. Not latex, but leather, in August." Raymond remembered the way he walked. Controlled. Not rushed. He didn't look at anyone else in the store. He walked straight to the girl. She didn't even scream, Raymond recalled. Just froze. The man whispered something to her. Something only she could hear. And then she followed him out. No resistance. No pleading. She walked as if she were already gone. The clerk ran outside a moment later, but by the time he got there, they were gone. A car sped away. No plates. Just the faint sound of tires on gravel and that same cryptic sticker on the back, "God forgives." I don't. That phrase, so odd, so specific, led detectives down a path they hadn't expected. They discovered that the sticker was commonly sold at a now-defunct online survivalist store. That store had, years ago, been frequented by members of extremist prepper groups, some of whom had ties to missing persons cases in other states. The car, they theorized, was custom. Its taillights didn't match any major models. Someone had modified it to be nearly untraceable. Back on campus, Maya's friends began to fracture under the pressure. Allegations swirled. Rumors turned to suspicion. Then came the revelation that changed everything. Lena, Maya's best friend, had lied. She hadn't gone to bed early, as she'd told police. She'd snuck off to meet her secret boyfriend, someone Maya didn't approve of. She admitted she left Maya on the porch alone that night after a tense exchange. "She told me she was gonna walk," Lena sobbed. "I thought she was being dramatic." Guilt gnawed at her. Her lies had delayed the timeline, diverted the search, and potentially cost Maya her last chance to be found quickly. But then came another sighting. A highway toll booth worker recalled a silver SUV speeding through at 3:17 a.m. It didn't stop to pay. The driver wore a mask. Not COVID style. A full black neoprene mask, like something from a tactical kit. In the passenger seat, a girl slumped against the window. She didn't move. She didn't look up. When police reviewed the toll booth's camera feed, it was grainy, but the shape of the face matched Maya's profile. Her earring, visible in the flash of light, matched the butterfly stud Camille had bought her for her birthday. At this point, law enforcement issued a statewide bulletin. Roadblocks were established on all major exits out of the county. Still, no car. No Maya. And then the letters began arriving. Typed. No return address. No fingerprints. Just a single sheet of white paper. She's alive. She's learning obedience. Soon she'll forget she was ever yours. The first letter was sent to Camille. The second, to Maya's dorm mailbox. The third, disturbingly, was found tucked inside the Thompson family's screen door, meaning someone had been watching them up close. But the fourth letter, sent anonymously to the local newspaper, offered a riddle: they look for her in daylight. But I taught her to love the dark. At this point, suspicion turned to something darker than abduction. This wasn't a random crime. This was a game. Enjoyed the twist? Then hit like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. You won't want to miss the next chapter in this mind-bending tale. Join us for more. And the masked stranger wasn't just hiding Maya. He was performing. 10 days after Maya Thompson vanished, the case had gone from a local missing persons report to a national obsession. News vans lined the edge of Hawthorne Ridge's campus. True crime podcasters descended on the town like vultures with microphones. But behind the chaos, behind the press conferences and tearful pleas, investigators were finally zeroing in on something, or someone, concrete. The first real break came not from a cop, but a janitor. Mark Delgado, a quiet, unassuming man in his late 50s, worked nights at the Science Building. On a whim, he checked the old storage level in the sub-basement, a place almost no students ever visited. That's when he found it, a small camera mounted high in the corner of the hallway. Unmarked. Hidden behind a false air vent. It wasn't school property. Police reviewed the footage. The camera had been active for months, silently recording students who came and went late at night. But around 2:40 a.m. on the night Maya vanished, it captured something shocking, a figure dragging what looked like a girl, limp, maybe unconscious, through the hallway. The lighting was poor, but the silhouette was unmistakable. The man wore a hood, gloves, and a full-face tactical mask. The girl's left arm hung loosely, and her bare foot dragged across the floor. Her head rested against his shoulder like a doll. The timestamp? August 20th, 2:43 a.m. The same time Maya's phone last pinged a cell tower near the building. But the biggest clue came just a moment before they turned the corner out of view, a tattoo, briefly visible on the abductor's neck. A black sun, partially obscured by what looked like claw marks. A symbol that, to the untrained eye, meant nothing. To Detective Hannah Reese, it meant everything. She'd seen that tattoo once before, on a case 3 years earlier in Texas. A kidnapping cult operating under the radar, calling themselves the Disciples of the Hollowing. They believed in psychological rebirth through captivity and submission. The tattoo had been their signature. That group had supposedly been dismantled. Clearly, someone had slipped through the cracks. Using university employment records, Reese ran a quiet background check on every male staff member, contractor, and even third-party workers. One name pinged with a disturbing past. Milo Greaves, 36, an IT consultant contracted through an outside security firm. No criminal record, but a sealed juvenile file and a history of mental health holds during his early 20s. He also drove a silver SUV. And in a photograph on his old college blog, he wore a leather bracelet, a braided black band with a butterfly charm. The same kind Maya wore. Surveillance crosschecks showed Milo had accessed the Science Building's basement systems the night Maya vanished. His keycard logged at 2:39 a.m. Police obtained a warrant and raided Milo's small apartment in a rundown part of town. What they found sent shivers through even the most hardened investigators: a wall covered in Polaroid photographs, dozens of women, all seemingly unaware they were being watched. A series of labeled VHS tapes titled Initiation, Silencing, The Learning, and Shed. And in the center of his room, a mannequin dressed in a replica of Maya's outfit from the party. The exact lavender dress she'd worn that night. But Maya wasn't there. No signs of her, alive or dead. The apartment's walls were covered in soundproof padding. One room, locked with a keypad, was empty when they breached it, but had restraints bolted to the floor. Fresh scratch marks marred the wall. She had been there. Recently. But the place had been cleared just hours before the raid. How had Milo known? That question was answered hours later when Detective Reese returned to her car and found a note under her windshield wiper. No fingerprints. Just 4 words, typed, "You're always too late." The vanishing point was no longer just Maya, it was Milo himself. He had gone underground. That night, a new witness came forward, this time, someone who had lived to tell their story. Claire Jensen. 24, former Hawthorne Ridge student. She'd dropped out 2 years earlier after a breakdown no one could explain. But now, watching the news and seeing Milo's photo on the screen, her memories came flooding back. He was charming. Quiet. He offered to help with my thesis. Then he started, showing up. Following me. Leaving notes. Telling me he could strip away the noise from my life. She'd woken up one morning in a locked room. For 3 days, she was kept in what she described as a sensory deprivation hell. Blindfolded, ears plugged, isolated. No physical harm. Just psychological stripping. He told me I was almost ready to be pure. Then he let me go. Claire's testimony confirmed a disturbing profile. Milo didn't see himself as a kidnapper. He saw himself as a teacher. One trying to fix women he believed were broken by the modern world, women like Maya, outspoken, joyful, and fiercely independent. His ideology was clear from a manifesto recovered on an encrypted flash drive: I do not harm. I reshape. In darkness, the self is found. In silence, obedience is born. She will forget who she was. And she will thank me for it. The FBI was now involved. A federal manhunt was launched. But Milo was meticulous. He left no digital footprint, no bank trail, no associates. Until one final clue emerged. At a gas station 3 counties over, a girl fitting Maya's description walked into the store alone. Thin. Pale. Wearing oversized clothes. She paid for water with crumpled cash. And on the security footage, behind her, in the shadows, stood a figure. Watching. Waiting. He didn't follow her into the store. He didn't need to. As she left, she turned to the camera, just briefly, and mouthed something, "Help me." And just like that, she was gone again. Maya had re-emerged. Briefly. Willfully or not, she was still with him. And now the race was on, not just to find her, but to find her before she no longer remembered she needed saving. Maya's heart raced as she stumbled through the dim corridor, her mind still clouded by the fog of disorientation. For what felt like an eternity, she'd been moving, trapped in an endless loop of routines orchestrated by him. Milo. The name, once a mere face in the crowd, had now become synonymous with everything that felt wrong in her world. The world he'd created for her was like a dream, a twisted version of reality that made her question the very nature of her existence. At times, she had to fight not to forget what was real. The feeling of the sun on her face, the sounds of laughter, the smell of fresh coffee brewing, it all felt so far away, like fragments of a life she wasn't sure had ever been hers. It had been days, or perhaps weeks, since she last saw daylight. Her perception of time had become warped, like a melody played in reverse. She couldn't trust the clocks. She couldn't trust her own senses. The walls of the small, isolated room had become her prison, yet, paradoxically, it had also been her sanctuary. He was methodical. Calculating. Milo had learned the art of isolation long before she was ever part of his carefully constructed experiment. She'd often wondered if this had been his plan all along, not just to abduct her physically, but to ensnare her mind. His voice was a constant, low hum in the background, always telling her she wasn't enough, that she was broken and needed to be fixed. He talked about purification like a priest preparing a soul for salvation, only his version of salvation was an erasure of who she was. At first, she fought it. She resisted. Every time he tried to break her down, she pushed back. But his words had power. And gradually, they started to seep in, making her question her own worth. Was she broken? Was she too loud, too visible, too defiant? Was there a need for her to change? One night, as she lay on the cot in her room, staring at the cracked ceiling, the weight of it all began to crash down on her. Her father's face, her friends, the college campus where she had once felt so free, they felt distant, almost unreachable. She wondered if they still thought about her. If they knew she was alive. But the longer she remained in the labyrinth of Milo's influence, the more the past seemed like a dream she could no longer hold on to. But then there were moments, the small flickers of defiance that flared up like a spark in the dark. They were brief but they were powerful. When Milo spoke to her, sometimes she could hear the cracks in his voice, the subtle tension in his words, like a mask slipping. One night, as he entered her room to deliver another one of his monotonous lectures, she turned her head toward him, her voice a whisper of defiance. "I'm not broken. I don't need fixing." Milo froze, as if the words had physically struck him. He took a long, slow breath before he responded. "You don't understand, Maya. You're too loud. You've always been too loud." But Maya didn't respond this time. Instead, she focused on the feeling of the cold metal floor beneath her fingers. The sensation was familiar, real. She wasn't dreaming. She was still in the fight, and she refused to let him erase her. Over the following days, she began to observe him more closely. His routines were predictable. His speech, rehearsed. He always approached her with a sense of calm, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of something else. Fear. Fear of losing control. Maya began to see it in the way he watched her when he thought she wasn't paying attention, in the quick glances when she didn't comply. It was subtle, but it was there. It was a crack in his armor. She couldn't escape yet. But she could fight back. The opportunity came on a night when Milo was distracted. He'd been tinkering with the lock on the basement door, muttering under his breath about something she didn't understand. Her mind had been racing, trying to piece together the threads of her fragmented memories. She hadn't spoken to anyone in weeks, but when she finally found the courage to break the silence, the words were sharp and raw. "I know what you are." Milo whipped around, his eyes wide with a mixture of shock and anger. "What are you talking about?" She stood slowly, the fog in her mind lifting for the first time since her abduction. The pieces of the puzzle clicked into place. The cold, impersonal touch. The way he always told her she was too much. The surveillance, the control. It was all part of something much darker. "You're not helping me," Maya said, her voice now steady. "You're trying to make me into something I'm not. You're trying to break me." His lips curled into a small, twisted smile. "I'm giving you freedom, Maya. I'm freeing you from the noise of the world." "The world isn't noise," she said, taking a step forward. "It's real. And I won't let you take it from me." The anger in his eyes flickered, then vanished, replaced by something almost like pity. "You'll understand soon enough. It's the only way." He moved toward her, but this time, she didn't flinch. Instead, she took another step back, her hands reaching for the one thing she had left, her memories. Her sense of self. "You don't own me," she whispered. "I'm not yours to control." For the first time since she'd been captured, Maya felt the power shift. Her heart was still pounding, but she no longer felt like a prisoner. She wasn't just resisting him, she was fighting for herself. Fighting to hold on to what she had left. And in that brief, fleeting moment of clarity, Maya made a decision. She wasn't going to let him destroy her. She wasn't going to let him reshape her into someone she wasn't. She would escape. No matter what it took. The night seemed to stretch on forever, the darkness around Maya feeling more oppressive than ever. She could hear the faint hum of Milo's voice from upstairs, muffled by the thick walls of the house. It was his usual monologue, another lecture disguised as care. He was always talking. But tonight, for the first time in months, Maya was listening, not to his words, but to the silence that followed them. The space in between. It was there she found her courage. She was running out of time. Maya had spent the last few days silently observing, taking note of Milo's habits and routines. The small, seemingly insignificant details that she had once ignored were now crucial. The locked basement door. The exact time he took to leave the house each evening to check his surveillance cameras. The way he never seemed to look her in the eye anymore. She had learned to read him, and now it was her turn to act. It wasn't enough to just resist. Maya knew that the only way to end this nightmare was to escape, and to ensure Milo was stopped once and for all. Tonight, she could feel the shift in the air. The familiar chill of anticipation, the small pang of hope she'd locked away deep inside her for so long. The same hope she'd almost forgotten about when Milo had first told her she was his, that she had no one else. Tonight, that hope felt like a force she could no longer ignore. She had a plan. Maya crept silently through the dimly lit hallways of the house, each step a conscious effort not to make a sound. The floorboards creaked beneath her bare feet, but she ignored them, her focus solely on the task at hand. In the darkness, the shadows seemed to cling to her, whispering warnings. She could almost hear Milo's voice, telling her to turn back, to submit, to accept the life he'd planned for her. But Maya kept moving forward. She reached the basement door, locked, as always. But tonight was different. Tonight, the key she had accidentally discovered weeks ago was in her hand. It was hidden in the back of her closet, left carelessly in one of Milo's many secret hiding spots. He thought he could control every aspect of her life, but he never anticipated how far she would go to break free. The key slid into the lock with a soft click, and the door creaked open. Cold air rushed up from the basement, a stark contrast to the stuffy heat of the upper floors. The room beyond was filled with the clutter of old furniture, boxes, and abandoned equipment. But hidden beneath it all was the final piece of Maya's plan, a phone, her lifeline to the outside world. Milo had thought he'd confiscated all of her communication devices. But in the dark corners of the house, Maya had found a way to keep in contact with the world, one message at a time. She grabbed the phone and powered it on. The screen blinked to life, and Maya quickly typed out a message to Lena, her heart pounding as she sent the words into the void, "I'm here. I'm okay. Please help." There was no going back now. She had made contact, and that was all that mattered. The phone buzzed with a response seconds later, and Maya's hands shook as she read the message from Lena. "Maya? Oh my God, where are you? We've been looking for you everywhere." Maya's pulse quickened as she typed back a quick response, her fingers trembling. "I'm in his house. The one on Oak Street. He's not here. I'll be waiting for you." She wasn't sure if Lena would arrive in time, but she had to believe she would. She had to. Maya clutched the phone tightly in her hands, feeling the weight of the moment settle over her. She wasn't waiting for rescue. She was waiting for freedom. The noise upstairs grew louder as Milo moved through the house, unaware of the quiet storm brewing below. Maya's stomach churned with nerves, but she remained still. Every second that passed felt like an eternity. She knew she had to act quickly. Time was slipping through her fingers like sand. Milo was just a few steps away when she heard him stop outside the basement door. His footsteps, once steady and confident, now felt hesitant. There was something about his presence that made the air thick with tension, as if he sensed something was different. As if he knew she was no longer the girl who had been compliant and submissive. She was fighting back. Before Maya could make a move, the door swung open. Milo stood in the doorway, his dark eyes searching the room. His gaze landed on her, and for the briefest moment, Maya saw the mask slip. The cold, calculating exterior faltered, revealing the truth beneath it all, fear. He had never expected this. Never thought she would break free. Maya, he whispered, his voice surprisingly soft, almost pleading. You don't have to do this. She stood tall, her heart beating loudly in her chest, but her voice was steady. I don't have to do anything, Milo. I'm not yours to control anymore. His face twisted with a mix of anger and disbelief. You'll regret this. I've taken care of you. You owe me. I owe you nothing, Maya retorted. You've been controlling me, lying to me, trapping me. I owe you nothing but the truth. With a final, desperate move, Milo lunged at her. But Maya was ready. She stepped aside, using his momentum against him, and pushed him back with all her strength. His body crashed into the old furniture, sending a loud thud reverberating through the house. But Maya didn't wait. She sprinted toward the door, the pounding of her heart deafening in her ears. She didn't look back. The final confrontation was over. Milo's twisted reign was over. Maya ran into the night, into freedom. By the time Lena and the authorities arrived, Milo was already in custody. His story crumbled under the weight of the evidence against him. The truth about his manipulative, coercive behavior was laid bare for the world to see. But for Maya, the truth had always been clear. She was not broken. She was never broken. Caught up in the mystery? Show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Let's unravel more chilling stories together. Don't miss out on the next shocking revelation.